A bit of delay. I will be starting the stream shortly. Now, if you are familiar with passive income generation, if you're familiar with returns from yield through things like farming, for example, stablecoins on Ethereum, this content may be of interest to yourself. Now, before I begin, I just have to put the emoji out just to make sure that, the stream is actually live. Because I do not check chat as much as I should. Now, I got the idea from this stream by going through YouTube and having a look at some other streamers, and there was one, it was something like 63% returns yield farming stablecoins, right, called, and passive crypto income. So I thought, well, I'll clone that, I'll fork that. That's an inside joke. But before I do, and I'll cover the same content, before I do, I will point out some things that may be of interest to people in the DeFi space. Now, Bitcoin, it may not be as relevant. However, there is wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum, and maybe just one day, the people who are pure Bitcoin maximalists will venture in openly into the DeFi space. They'll admit to the world that they are actually making some gains over here in the DeFi space. Now, pausing there, understanding Ethereum network upgrades is probably a good place to start, because when you are, yield farming and trying to derive crypto passive income, you might just want to be able to ease back on the fees, because fees kind of suck. Well, I think they do. Now, if the amount you're investing is quite small, they suck even harder, right? If it's a huge amount, maybe the fees aren't so bad. If you have a look on, for instance, Aave, and there is a lot of liquidity locked up over there. Before I look at that though, because there's several millions, we'll go back to the Ethereum network upgrades. Now, coming up, again, this is me cosplaying as an Ethereum guru. I've gone through this content ever so briefly. I have enough knowledge to be dangerous in this space, but I am by no means an expert, and you should never ever listen to anything that I say, let alone copy or try and emulate them. In saying that, you should understand Ethereum network upgrades, right? Now, why is that? Well, to summarize, I am understanding, I could be incorrect, not a technical genius, I'm more of a noob, but I'm understanding that L2, quote unquote L2s, whatever an L2 actually is by definition, is going to be improved, whereby the fees will be cheaper, which is good, because that is a step towards, from my understanding, ETH, the entire system, having cheaper fees later on with another upgrade later on. So this particular upgrade is called the Denken. I went through here and found the CoinSense Academy. I might actually have a look. Maybe you might got anyone out there might want to have a look at this as well. It goes through in great detail, I would imagine, what I am trying to explain here, and how it might help you understand how the upgrade may take place in the future, and why this would be good. Cheaper fees is better for transacting. Now, let's go. After we've absorbed all that, we know that there's some upgrades coming to Ethereum, and maybe, just maybe in the future, I read somewhere that, it could be on the roadmap, that the reduction of fees could apply to maybe the entire Ethereum network. So not just things running through the L2s, but actually on the L1 itself. Now, that would be very, very cool if you are, engaging in something like, for instance, Aave, and you want to supply, for instance, something like DAI and get like a 4.83%. Even, I think I saw PayPal USD. I mean, I'm not laughing. It's just funny because I've left this space and come back, and it hasn't gone away. It keeps developing faster and quicker. So much so that I've sort of specialized in one particular area, it's called Pulechain. It's a relatively new L1 relative to anything else out there currently. But before you go and sort of research that one, you probably need to understand Bitcoin, how to buy and sell Bitcoin, how to store everything safely across on that particular chain, and also on the Ethereum chain, maybe then the L2s, and then you might have an understanding about what a L1 is, what an L2 is, and what Pulechain is, and why it is so groundbreaking, beneficial, innovative, face melting technology. Now, it's easy to say that, right? But I'll prove it to you. But you won't believe me. Now, we have here on Aave lots of liquidity. You have ERC20s locked up. We have you can do this across multiple chains. For instance, Binance, I think, is on here. I haven't engaged with this protocol because the first time I saw this thing, I think it was through Compound, possibly through an Exodus wallet. Like I said, it's only got bigger, larger, and now there's a lot more tokens. And it's not just shit token, not just shit coins. It's actually become more usable. It's sort of expanding all of the portfolios of everyone, or giving people the ability to access them across the world with ease. Of course, subject to all the, in essence, I don't want to say legalities. I don't want to say KYC, but when you are engaging with cryptocurrency, when you're onboarding and off-ramping, you generally have to go through centralized exchanges. It's an unnecessary evil. And at that point in time, when you exchange that into dirty fiat for whatever reason, I'm pretty sure you're, KYCing. So that's why I think if people were to sort of go after these evil cryptocurrencies, they need to really take a step back and go, hang on. At the point of exit and entry, it is pretty extremely heavily regulated. I think in some communities, there was an onboard and off-ramp system, on-ramp, off-ramp, and they actually are facing some issues. What they are, I'm not so sure, but it's not as easy to do. So there are things like your centralized exchange, whichever one you engage in, and the more the world-renowned ones such as Coinbase, right? Now, moving on, so you're understanding Bitcoin, understanding Ethereum, understanding L2s, vaguely, being able to keep everything safe, being able to trade. Then next thing, I guess, you want to be able to provide, your tokens through smart contracts. So you don't want to give up your coins to someone else and let them. So you don't want to send your coins to a centralized exchange and then they disappear with your money. No, that is bad. You want to be able to control your own destiny. You want to be able to maintain control of your free will and your future. You want to be able to speak to the blockchain, right? You want to be able to earn yield from things that you do, from code that you run with code that you interact with. And you got to hope and pray that it is safe and it is well vetted and has been around for a long time. Now, I guess one of those things, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then I guess Aave is it on Ethereum? You guys all know that, right? Now, moving on from there, what you will see is other opportunities in the space, whether that be different tokens with different APRs, or whether that be, like I said, things like Pulechain itself. Now, you might not believe the yield that you can get from LP farming, because a lot of the time you will see farms open up and maybe there's no liquidity and you get robbed, right? Well, what is happening over in Pulechain is quite amazing. There is an actual fork of Aave over there. So if you wanted to, you could go over there and play with that and the tokens on Pulechain that have been bridged over from Ethereum. They may even have, I dare say, some better yield. There is a whole lot of other innovation going on over on Pulechain. So if you care to have a look, be extremely careful. Like I said before, understand Bitcoin, understand Ethereum, understand different layers, understand then L1, like Pulechain, what it is, how it operates, how to stay safe, and you will too be able to get returns from yield farming. But then it's like, how do you do this? Now, am I going to tell you? Should I just spit it out? I don't know. Before I continue on, maybe, just maybe, think about how you would come to these decisions, right? For instance, I'm on X, and you might stumble across some information, right? You might find a reputable source of information that you might want to go out and vet yourself. So you have a look at this, right? So it looks as if, for instance, there was 43 million SDAI going through Ethereum and ending up in some interesting places, right? Now, if you understand the bridge, how to bridge in and out tokens from various chains, which I'm assuming you do, you will then be able to see what is going on, what's going to happen next on these particular chains, or simply that there is volume, there is liquidity. In the early days, I don't think there would have been people that would be like, oh, did you know there is, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of liquidity? Because if you're a large individual and you need the volume to match your large bags, you would feel risky if you were the only entrant in a particular space, because you would come in, enter it in, and then the yield would absolutely tank. But if the yield is already large enough to support something, like here we see DAI stable, or you could say you see USD coin, USDC, there's 722 million. So if you had 722 million, you would come into this pool, and I'd imagine the supply API would drop around 50% or so, maybe more, I'm not sure. But you'd be able to support that. Not many people have 722 million to throw around in this cryptocurrency space. Especially if you're new to the space, you're just looking for what, $10 a week, $100 a week, maybe $1,000 a week as you start to get larger in this space. Now, realistically, those figures are possible based on the APY you're looking at, based on the amount that you are going to enter in capital you are going to inject, whether that be house money, whether that be fresh capital, whether that be, your side hustle that you're deciding what to do. Should you buy a new TV, or should you try and build a farm, a cryptocurrency farm? No, choice is yours. Now, I really should have pulled up PulseX, which is a decentralized exchange on Pulechain, very similar to Uniswap. It is an actual fork of Uniswap. Now, before I go there, we are moving so fast in the cryptocurrency space. We are now seeing things that I would never have thought possible back in 2017. We're seeing now the introduction. So we've seen how Google Chrome has sort of grown and evolved and sort of taking over the browsers. Now, is it the best one? Is it the safest one? I don't know. Personally, I prefer DuckDuckGo. Personally, there's a few I prefer, but I prefer DuckDuckGo over Google because, sometimes Google has some privacy issues. However, it works pretty good, right? As long as you keep it updated and things like that. Again, I'm not an expert here, just going from my experience. Now, you're probably familiar with things like MetaMask, other wallets, your ones that are appearing. But then you see this here, right? Uniswap Labs, although they claim to be decentralized and they have the ability to mask particular tokens from their front end or from their website, but you can actually get their code, run it, and you can essentially step around that. But they're actually talking about the first wallet to live in your browser's sidebar. Now, no more pop-ups, no more transaction windows, waitlist open today. Now, I'm not sure if I'm understanding this correctly. It seems as if you would probably still need something like a MetaMask to connect to, because I don't think they're making their own wallet. If they are, that would be interesting because, maybe someone would fork that over on, for instance, Pulechain or other chains. But that's not the point of this. I actually think it's going to be, it's used. It's like an extension. So you'll be able to basically do everything you'll do on Uniswap, however, in an extension. So you could do it on mobile. You could do it on your tablet. You probably do it on your car if in your Tesla if it's connected to the internet. It's got Google. it's kind of interesting how agile we're going to become in this cryptocurrency space. Now, you got to be careful. You know, security. You want to have it. You want to have your entire life savings on like on a hot wallet on an extension, and just hope, pray to God that no one, I don't know, cracks your Google account, for instance. But again, that's like another side issue. But that is the rate of change that we are seeing. We've gone from Coinbase listing like how many tokens and CoinMarketCap having how many tokens listed, to now we have ETFs. We're talking about other ETFs, the halvenings coming up, whichever one it is, up to how many cycles are we in. And we're seeing innovations like Pulechain come out. There's L2s out there. ETH is talking about getting upgrades after the Denkin upgrade, which is beneficial. And then we are seeing also at the same time people with large bags being able to move the bags around easily because there is sufficient liquidity and it is safe, relatively safe compared to some other things out there. Because I don't know if you guys remember back in 2017-18, these farms would just pop up, the food farms, for instance, and then someone would have an exploit in the background, someone would have admin keys, some would disappear. People didn't understand liquidity providing, like myself, and you'd put in, say, your Ethereum, and the price of Ethereum would go up, and then you'd be left holding a big bag of nothing, you know, because that's what happens, right? So if you wanted to, you could, if you stayed for this long, I'll give you the bonus content, Will it pull up without having a wallet connected? Let's have a look. Now, it's called PulseX, right? And it's a decentralized exchange. And basically, if you go over to their farms and you understand how to engage with them, this may help you. Because just maybe after understanding all of this, and you've gone through and you've looked at Aave, you've looked at all the different decentralized exchanges out there, you decide, oh, well, the APRs are amazing, but then they sort of drop off over time. You know, maybe you discover something like PulseX, and you decide to bridge over some stable coins like DAI. Maybe you want to take some DAI off of platforms on Ethereum, send it across the bridge, make sure you're using the right ones, and plonk it over here in a farm, pair it with something like this pool here, Pulechain. You get exposure to a new L1, and then what happens? There's some deep liquidity here, deepish liquidity, 28 million US dollars, 61 million. I think there's another large one. It is 36 million, and you're then able to farm. You'll get a token called INC. You have a look over here. And then maybe you want to research things like Hex, PulseX, Pulechain, INC, or maybe you don't. Maybe you just purely dump forever. However, think about it, right? What are you getting if you put your money in term deposit? We have term deposit in Australia, or certificate of deposit over in the US, or whatever you guys have in Europe and other parts of the world, Asia, Africa, Antarctica. What sort of returns are you getting? 100, like 12% sounds shit in crypto terms. 12% in, if you went to a bank and said, I want 12% guaranteed, they'll be like, we can't do that. Now, this isn't guaranteed by any means. However, while it does have the deepest liquidity, you can, I would say, reduce your risk, because if you understand how the LPs work, if, for instance, one moves up hard and the other one doesn't move as hard, you end up with the one that isn't going up as hard. But if they're both valuable, and the overall value that you're holding, it's not a bad proposition if you think about it. And not just that, if, for instance, you have larger bags and you want to, park some liquidity in something like DAI, which is relatively stable across multiple chains, Pulechain included, you could pair it with something like Pulechain, the native token of Pulechain. Pulse, is the native token of Pulechain. And although the liquidity isn't in the hundreds of millions yet, you're able to see some pretty deep liquidity. So you could match the 28 million, and maybe the APR would be, I don't know, around 50% again. I'm not sure what the figures will do. But compared to other farms that have just disintegrated over time, it's performing quite well due to the performance of the token in which you are rewarded in. Because not all tokens on PulseX are actually issued with an INC token when you provide LP. Some, I think on this V2, the traditional V2, you'll basically be rewarded in the fees on either token. So say you had a stable with Pulechain, you wouldn't be getting any INC. If there was a world that existed where you didn't get INC, and you'd only be getting rewarded in the stable or the native token Pulechain. However, that's not the case because Pulechain does on this particular pair, in this particular farm, issue an INC token, which is kind of cool if you ask me. Now I don't really pay much attention to it personally. I sort of honed in on like specialized in, I guess you could say, on Hex. Pulechain came along and PulseX came along as a bonus, in my opinion. Now, it's like a tool, Pulechain is L1, and if you don't like fees and you understand how Ethereum fees work and you understand how L2 fees work, maybe you want to experience Pulechain, which is L1 and has very low fees, 100% uptime, and more recently the block Explorer has been pretty decent. I think the other day it had a bit of an issue. I was engaging with crypto tax software. It wasn't pulling some data, but you just put it in manually, that's no issue. But now I go through today and it's back to being flawless. What else? So maybe, just maybe, you want to have a look at some of the yield but you could potentially be earning on, I guess, Aave. Maybe you want to look at the upgrades coming along for Ethereum. Maybe you want to check out Pulechain itself and some tools which you could use to make your existence better. If you're seeking financial, monetary prowess in this society that we live in, which most people are. But if not, then by all means, just stick with your term deposits. That's cool. Again, because this is not financial advice. This is attempting to try to, I guess, inform people and let them know that this is available, right? Now, because if you don't know this, then how are you going to take advantage of it? Now, technically, for my benefit, it has the negative impact if more people discover this and they all flood, the farms. But the South Korean market, I've heard, is heavily retail orientated. They don't really engage with DeFi yet. And so they're going to be missing out because they want their instant adrenaline hit of like 1,000x instantly on 100x leverage. And then they get wrecked over and over again. Maybe they make it occasionally. But meantime, you have a look at something providing 100% APR. That's not too bad. Maybe you don't want to put the farm on this. Maybe you just want to dabble. You just put a little bit, just see how it goes, see how it works, engage with it. And you'll be happy with that because, every small step counts. As long as you're stepping towards your goal, I can't see how you are going to fail. Now, I'll wrap this one up pretty soon. I'll just double check. That's, yeah, good. All right. Now that is about it. So Ethereum upgrades coming soon. Maybe check out what the Ethereum upgrades are. Maybe try and find out the next Ethereum upgrades and how it could have be beneficial for all of Ethereum, because that would be very cool. Now, I haven't heard anything yet solid on that, but if it does come, I'll be more than happy because, like I said, as a avid Hex enthusiast, to put it lightly, I would benefit, I would hope, from cheaper fees on Ethereum, as would you yourself, providing LP, doing swaps, transacting, etc., using bridges, etc. If you're familiar with Aave, maybe you want to check out Aave's fork over on Pulechain. Maybe you'll be happy that Aave has cheaper fees. But if you have a look at the yield over here for something like that, you get 4.83%. But you have to pay the Ethereum fee to enter in. You could go that LP route, as some people do, but you're gonna have to learn that it's over time the APR can diminish. I guess you call it diminishing returns. You could also though, whilst so you could master Bitcoin, you could master Ethereum, you could master Aave, you could master all the L2s, you could master the Binance and PancakeSwap, and if that's what you're doing, eventually, right? Eventually, you're gonna want to level up, and when you do level up, maybe you discover. Sounds like I'm trying to sell you something here, but maybe you discover something like Pulechain, and maybe you do some research. Maybe you have a look at the fees. Maybe you have a look at the network, how it's decentralized. I don't know, cheap fees. Maybe you discover one of the farms with the deepest pools. Maybe you discover some other dexes that you might engage with over in Pulechain. However, I myself don't really talk about them that much, because I don't use them. So that's not to say there is some amazing use case for them, because there could be. Don't get me wrong. There's some cool shit being built, and you don't want to get left stranded playing on Ethereum, thinking, oh, my 4.83% is the best fucking yield you can get, and I'm gonna teach everyone in the world how to buy Ethereum. Don't buy Bitcoin when you buy Ethereum, and then you go over to Aave and then you swap out and get some USDC, or you get your USDC from Coinbase, send it over for free fees, and you get your 4.97%, and that's just as good as a term deposit in legacy finance. So hang on, that doesn't sound quite right. Or you might get 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% LP APR, providing LP between a couple. And hope that you understand that over on, say, something like Pulechain, if, you hold a large bag and of Pulse and it starts skyrocketing, and then you start dumping the price, maybe you dump the amount and it goes lower than the point at which you bought in. So you're pushing the price against yourself. So instead of doing that, maybe, just maybe, you are then going to be, for instance, providing LP, and you understand that, that say it's $1,000 or whatever, $10,000. You understand that if the price moves against you, you may suffer impermanent loss. However, I would imagine you would retain the amount of, stable coin plus any other growth in the meantime. Maybe the INC token grows in value, and also the amount that you hold is actually worth more. Now, that would be kind of impressive. Now, this is not impossible, and especially in a bull market, this is very, very realistic outcomes. But it depends how far down the rabbit hole you really want to go. You want to stay in Bitcoin, that's fine. You want to go your ETF. You want to learn about Ethereum and its upgrades, that's fine. You want to learn about potential upgrades, that's fine. Cheaper fees. Then you might, take some courses, I don't know. You might want to engage with some platforms like Aave, provide some LPs on some other exchanges, decentralized exchanges, mind you, because I'm not too fond of centralized exchanges, because what if they disappear? They kind of run away with your money, which kind of sucks. And then you start chasing yield. Now, this is where you got to be careful, because you might start going, well, I've discovered this thing. It's 10,000 yield. It's insane. And then the next day it's like 1% yield. You'll be and you're left holding a big giant bag worth nothing. So all I can say is, from experience, I have been absolutely amazed by the performance of PulseX and the pools thus far, and the ongoing strength of the APRs on these pools. It is something else. I have no idea how it's happening, but I am more than impressed. And it has been months and months and months and months. I think had I have been more risky, I could have made probably more yield through engaging with these particular pools. However, like I said, I only went small into things like Hex early on. And then a little bit larger in the Pulechain sacrifice. I don't know if you guys heard about that. You might have missed it. I don't know. There's a free airdrop. I think if you go to here, if I can find it. I could have sworn it was here. Fame, that's another one. I'm pretty sure that's the fork of Aave. I can't actually find it. Damn. Oh, here. Claim your Pulechain airdrop. So if you're new to the system, you have an Ethereum address, that's your, like, that's not through a centralized exchange, because I'm not sure what the centralized exchanges are actually doing, then maybe, just maybe, you drop in your, address here. Maybe, just maybe, you got some free money in there. And then if you bridge in for the first time, I'm pretty sure you get 1,000 free pulse, like, automatically, as long as the wallet's never touched Pulechain before, which is more than enough to make some transactions. But again, this is your information, should you choose to research it, because I cannot tell you what to do. You shouldn't listen to me on the internet. I could be a complete scammer right now, and this could be all fake, right? But then, if it happens to be real, and you can actually cash all this out if you wanted to and get some fiat, or then go play around in the Pulechain ecosphere or Aave ecosphere once you understand bridging back and forth. Maybe you've got some Bitcoin, maybe you want to wrap it, send it over to Ethereum, and then they provide I'm not sure. Can you provide LP? You probably can provide LP. Maybe you want to provide LP on stables. Who knows? On various networks now, because there is, for instance, DAI, USDC on multiple networks. If you go to things like, most centralized exchanges, they'll let you choose what network, I guess, to run on. So it's an interesting space that this is evolving into. I think even at this point in time, as I make this video, it's become dated because something else probably happened, and we probably missed it. That's how fast and rapid shit is changing. And it's for the better, because we're going to have to embrace technology. Otherwise, we may get left behind. And that's not something you want. I mean, unless you like holding something that, it goes up. But what about everything else you're missing out on? It's, what would it be like? What if there was a Vegas style smorgasbord, and you have a favorite, and all you do is go to the Vegas style smorgasbord and just eat grapes the whole time? It's like, hang on, you might be missing out on something, All right, that's about it on this one. Hopefully that helped someone. Like I said, not shilling, pushing anything on anyone, just explaining the thought process that I have. Starting, I guess, from Bitcoin, working over to DeFi, working over to Ethereum, understanding liquidity providing, understanding other platforms, reputable platforms, understanding that there's forks out there of reputable platforms. There's even a fork out of Ethereum, which is Pulechain. Cheaper fees, performance is performance is, as you see here on GoPulse, if you want to check that. Maybe the SAC rate's familiar, not familiar to you, I'm not sure, but you can keep track of how it's performing. Maybe you want to create a validator, there's heaps of content out there for that. Maybe you want to provide LP. Here is some figures you might want to look at. Maybe you believe them, maybe you don't, I don't know. How about you test it and find out, and tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm full of shit and this doesn't exist and this is all fake. And the reason why maybe this is being censored, gatekept, is because other people in this space don't want you to find this out. Who knows? All right, free speech, signing out. Thank you.